From the outcome of the 2023 election, at least 8 political parties will be fairly represented in the 10th National Assembly, making it crucial to elect a Senate president that would be the choice of a majority of the members and ensure sustainable democracy. Now, since the President-elect Bola Tinubu is from the southwest, Kashim Shettima, his vice, is from the north, some Nigerians are asking that the seat of the Senate presidency be zoned to the southeast or south-south. Mike, that's been the subject of controversy over time. In fact, recall that even we had a guest recently, I think that was 2 weeks ago, who was saying, no, it should be zoned to the northwest because of the contribution they made to the election with the numbers that came from that end. And there are those who are saying for the purpose of fairness, equity, justice, we must look at other regions, we must look at religion as well. If we are saying we want to unify the country, the third person in the country must be from must be a Christian, and from any other of the region of South-South or Southeast. And then those in the South-South are saying the Southeast since 1999 has maintained this position back to back for 5 years. And with not unhindered, it should come to us, the South-South, now. Interesting conversations with regards to
No, really, it's interesting. At times like this, because our politicians are people are the way they are, they wouldn't wait for that time before they start making the move. In fact, an average politician would start making his or her move ahead of time. Now, if you look at the zoning system in Nigeria, a lot of persons have come to understand that the context or the concept of zoning balances the issues of suspicion, the issues of inclusiveness.
Yes.
It creates inclusiveness, and then it creates also fairness. That is why there is what they call the federal character principle, which was made a policy backed by law in such a way that public offices are spread to give a semblance of fairness and inclusion to every part of this country. Nigeria is known to be one of the countries very multicultural, multidimensional country, and even multi-religious. So all of those factors form the personalities and the people that we are as a people.
Of course.
So in our polity, in our policies, in our governance system, it has to also be seen to reflect the differences and the diversity that we all are. That is what brings this issue of zoning. Now, it has not formally been written or backed by law to say, okay, we have enshrined this in a law that when a president comes from one geopolitical zone, the vice president should come from another, or the Senate president should come from another. That has not been vetted.
All right.
We understand we have a guest.
Yes, we have joining us former Secretary General of Ijaw Youth Council, Afred Kemepado. He joins us now. Alfred, good morning. It's good to see you again after it's been quite a while.
Alfred, nice to see you.
How you doing?
Good morning. Right, we have such a limited time to talk about this. But now, looking at the issues surrounding the 10th Assembly, who emerges as the Senate President, there's been so many issues and arguments with regards to equity, fairness, and justice. There's the aspect of unifying the country. And there are those who are saying it should be zoned to the southeast, south-south. And there's also the argument of those who are saying that because of what we contributed to the election, it should come to us, talking about those in the Northwest now. Where do you stand in this divide if we are looking at the matter of competency, equity, fairness, justice?
I will stand with the people. And by that I mean, politicians have started again. What we contributed to the table, what we do this or we do that, all of that, it's still important. But you see, if this country was a patient in an hospital, then we can say this country is in the emergency ward. I'm not saying this for the sake of criticism. I'm saying this statesmanly. Let me use that word. So what we need at this particular point in time, as important as the zoning and the composition to reflect federal character and all other components of the society is, what is even more important that is not being discussed is the competence of who becomes the Senate president. Because I tell you something, you see, no law is as important as the budget. The budget of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, where our national cake is shared, where everything that concerns our welfare as a country is appropriated, will go through the National Assembly. So what we need to begin to concentrate, the conversation that is supposed to be on, is who is that Senate president that will come at a time like this and help the president, okay, craft a Nigeria that will become the Nigeria of our dreams. You see, the politicians have got, politics is important, but it's not more important than the states. So the issue of competence should rise above every other thing. Competence in terms of who, you see, the legislature is not a body that is set up to fight the executive at any point in time. The legislature is that arm of government that is set up to complement the activities of the executive. So the question will be, who is that Senate president that will show the president-elect that will be subsequently sworn in as president the kind of understanding, the kind of support, you know, working hand in gloves, as you may say, to see how we can speedily bring this country back on track in terms of having the country of our dreams. That is what is more important. And that conversation is lacking. I'm not saying that the other conversations of let there be the Southeast, the South-South, where I also come from, I completely agree with those who say that we have contributed immensely to the development of this country in terms of the oil that will contribute. All of those conversations are valid, okay? But the most valid conversation is who will be a team player.
It's quite interesting to see from that perspective, because if there's an argument that a certain geopolitical zone provided most of the votes that won the government, there's also a section of a geopolitical zone who will say, well, when it comes to the resources that is keeping the country going, we are providing the most. So, but in all, every part of Nigeria is coming up to the table with something. But let's talk about the president-elect. What role does he have to play? Why should he be interested in who becomes the next Senate president?
Yeah, he should be interested, because who becomes the next Senate president has a role, okay, to play in terms of stabilizing his government. That's why I'm talking about the content and the capacity of the person, okay? I'll tell you something. Ordinarily, this is a legislative affair. This is an affair that should end in the chambers of the National Assembly. It ordinarily is not supposed to be the business of the president. But you see, we can't run away from the realities that we have in Nigeria. Okay, that is why it looks as if the president has got to interfere. Look at the current Senate. Yes, you may say that a particular party A has more members, but the truth is, the members of the minority parties are even the unstated majority. That's the simple truth, and that's the beauty of democracy, okay? So, coming back to your question, what role do they have to play? They have a big role in stabilizing his government. That is why, in the beginning, I said, it shouldn't be a Senate president and a Senate presidency that will begin to see the executive as an opposition. It should be a Senate presidency that has the capacity to work together with the executive, lobby the executive, make friends with the executive, put the country first in terms of budgeting, in terms of screening and all other legislative duties. They begin to ask the question, what is best for Nigeria? So that's why we should place premium on the capacity, the experience, and the content of character of who becomes the Senate president. more than this region contributed this.